How's it going, guys? Coming at you with a review of the Aguila Supermaximum Hyper Velocity 30 grain hollow point 22 long rifle. To date, guys, this has probably been the most requested 22 long rifle for me to review. And there's a reason for that. The reason why is because this is kind of a special ammunition. Aguila, who manufactures their ammunition in Mexico, claims that this is the most powerful 22 long rifle ever manufactured. We're going to go ahead and put that to the test and see if that's actually the case. But this review is also going to consist of an accuracy portion. We're going to show you some of the accuracy out of this round. We're also going to shoot this round into the clear ballistics gel. So we're going to go ahead and show you the terminal ballistics as well on this round. But before we do that, let's go ahead and take a look at the round itself. Alright, so as you can see, it's a pretty nicely constructed bullet. The hollow point looks really clean. The brass has a little bit of blemishes on it, but for the most part it's a pretty polished brass. You've got the A for Aguila on the back. The case to bullet fit on this round here has a little bit of wiggle side to side, but some of them are completely solid. So like this one here has absolutely no wiggle whatsoever. So it's actually pretty decent. As you can see, the hollow point is not that deep. This is a very small bullet at only 30 grains. It's not a very long bullet at all. The case length on this is not your typical 22 long rifle case length as well. It's not quite as long as the Stinger. Let me show you the Stinger with it back to back. See if I can line these bad boys up here. As you can see, the Stinger case is just slightly longer than the Aguila. The Stinger also has a 2 grain heavier bullet as well. Alright, so this one is the solid version of the Super Maximum. As you can see right there, it is a truncated nose cone. Other than that, virtually identical to the hollow point ammunition. We're going to be showing you the accuracy of this and as well as some of the velocities from the solid as well, but we're not going to be shooting this in the ballistics gel. Okay, so I picked this up at Cabela's just recently, and it comes packaged in a 500 round pack, but it is individually packaged. I do not consider this a bulk or even a semi-bulk loading, just because the ammunition is individually packaged. So they're not thrown in a cardboard box or anything like that. They are individually separated and segmented in its own little holder. And so I feel that this is more or less not a bulk ammunition at all. So that's how it comes packaged in these little 50 round boxes right here. This stuff is Ely primed, and if you guys know the company Ely, it's a British company that produces a 22 long rifle. I know that some of their ammunition is also manufactured in Mexico, but I can tell that it's Ely primed because when you fire it, it has the same peanutty smell that other Ely ammo has. Alright, now let's talk about the factory numbers. Now Aguila does claim that this is the most powerful 22 long rifle ever produced, stating that this round travels out of the barrel at 1,700 feet per second with 192 foot-pounds of energy. That's a pretty stout claim when you consider that its main competitor, which is the CCI Stinger, claims a 32 grain hollow point cruising out at 1,640 feet per second at 191 foot-pounds. So the Aguila claims that it is 1 foot-pound more powerful than the CCI Stinger. And I'll let you guys decide whether or not you guys think that that is significant or not. But regardless, they do claim that it does outperform the Stinger in velocity and energy. So what I found was that we did not come close to the factory stated numbers. That is kind of typical with ammo manufacturers, sometimes fudging their numbers. In this case, I think Aguila used that to kind of put their claim to fame out there. I shot this out of 3 different guns. There was the Savage Mark II BTV-S with a 21-inch barrel, a 1-in-16 twist, right-handed twist. Also, I shot it out of my Troy Ruger 1022 with an 18.5-inch barrel. That's also a 1-in-16 with a right-hand twist. And then I shot it out of the the Ruger P22 with a 3.5-inch barrel, and I believe that's also 1-in-16-inch twist, right-handed as well. Now, the numbers that I got out of the Savage Mark II with the hollow point was 1,545 feet per second, equating to 158 foot-pounds of energy. Now, what I got out of the Troy Ruger 1022 with an 18.5 inch barrel was 1,543 feet per second with the same foot-pounds of energy. What I got out of the P22 with a 3.5 inch barrel was 1,099 feet per second, equating to 80 foot-pounds of energy. Now, obviously, a pistol is not going to generate the same amount of velocity and energy that a rifle will produce with this ammunition. So, but I did want to show that, and we're going to be shooting that. We're going to be shooting it out of the P22 into the ballistics gel as well, because I know that there are some people out there that like to carry this for self-defense, and I wanted to show them kind of what they can expect in the ballistics gel. So as you can see, it's not. The numbers are just not adding up. And with a 21-inch barrel, we should be getting all the velocity we want out of this round. And there was really no difference between the 18.5-inch barrel and the 21-inch barrel. I think the powder has done its full burn with that length of barrel. Now, I did have an older box of the Super Maximum. You can see I marked it with an X there. I bought this almost 2 years ago, and I've noticed that this ammunition also didn't look quite as, it had a lot more lubrication on the nose, and it wasn't quite as bright. The brass or the copper plating and stuff wasn't quite as bright. Those kind of things. This is properly stored, by the way. I did have it properly stored, so it's not just because it's older. 2 years old really isn't that old anyway. I did find that when I shot this older stuff out of the Savage Mark II, I got 1,609 feet per second, equating to 172 foot-pounds of energy. So it was a little bit hotter than this newer box, and I don't know if it was just a case lot type thing, or if they used to produce this being a little bit hotter than they do now. But just as a data point, the 2-year-old box shot about 50 feet per second more, and so it equated to 172 foot-pounds of energy. So just a thought. Now the solid pretty much ran identical to the hollow point. I didn't really see enough of a difference in velocity to really make a difference. I think actually the solid shot about 20 feet per second slower than the hollow point, but you know, that could just be variances of the rounds that I chose to shoot. All right, let's go ahead and show you the accuracy of these rounds. Okay, now this wasn't the most ideal conditions to be shooting under. I did have a 5-mile-an-hour wind. It was pretty steady, so it wasn't really gusting or anything like that. But just to let you know that it wasn't the most optimal shooting day for 22 long rifle, but it wasn't enough to really skew these groups at all. Now this is at 50 yards. I usually shoot my 22 long rifle at 100, but for this day I just stayed on the 50-yard line and I shot these groups. Now, these two right here are the solids, and these two right here are the hollow points. The best group of the day was done by the solids at 1.75 inches. Now this is at 50 yards. This is what I expect from ammunition that's higher grade at 100 yards, not at 50. The other group that I shot with the solids was 3.05 inches, and this is out of the Savage Mark II with a 21-inch barrel. I was using a 4x12 power scope, so I was using this at maximum magnification as well. Here we have the two hollow point groups. We have a 3.04 and a 3.06. Really, again, guys, not phenomenal accuracy at all. I don't know if it was just that the Savage didn't like the longer case length of the Super Maximum. I'm not sure, but for the most part, the accuracy is not good at all. If you consider that at 100 yards, these groups are going to open up quite a bit to 3, 4, 5, even 6-inch groups. So it's really not that great. At 50 yards, this is still a minute of squirrel. So if you're going to use this as a hunting load, you can do it at shorter velocities. At least I wouldn't stretch it much beyond maybe 50, 75 yards, just because I think that after that, you're looking at a lot of variance in your accuracy. For self-defense, I know that there's some of you guys out there that are watching this review and considering this ammunition for self-defense. I think that the accuracy is probably more than adequate for a self-defense situation, especially self-defense distances, indoors distances, things like that. Less than 25 yards, you shouldn't have a problem at all accuracy-wise with this round. I didn't see any signs of keyholing or anything like that. I feel that the Savage sufficiently stabilized the round, so I'm not sure exactly why I got the accuracy that I got. Maybe this is just inherent to the round, but as it stands, I'm saying that the accuracy is kind of poor for this round. All right, so now let's go ahead and shoot it into the ballistics gel and see how well it performs. One caveat to note before we get started: when I molded this gel this last time, I did have a lot of bubbles that formed. Most of the bubbles are towards the surface of the gel and are not deep in. And I did try to shoot the gel in the areas where there was very few bubbles. And so I really don't think that the bubbles in this test are adversely affected our ballistics tests at all. First, we're going to go ahead and look at the wound channel produced by the Ruger SR22. As you can see, we have the entrance right there. And then we go without any drama until about the 4.5 inch mark. And then what happens is the bullet starts to yaw or to flip on its side. And we get this nice, large, permanent wound channel going from about the 5.5 inch mark to about the 9 inch mark. So we're looking at about 3.5 inches long. We're looking at about 1.5 or maybe 1 3/4 inches wide. As you can see that it's wide in this direction, but if you go to the side, it's not very, very wide the other dimension. Now, after the permanent cavity, we settle down about the 9 inch mark, and it ends just shy of 14 inches. We're looking at 13 7/8 inches of penetration into the ballistics gel. All right, this is the round recovered from the SR22 shot. As you can see that we had a little bit of deformation of the nose cone itself, but we had this kind of interesting belling out of the base, as you can see. And I think what had happened was at the 5.5 inch mark, when we hit that permanent cavity, what I think happened was I think the round turned on its side and then went backwards for a second, and the pressure might have expanded the back side of the bullet. And then I think what happened was it went back all the way around and settled out nose first. All right, this is the shot taken out of the Troy Ruger 1022 with an 18.5 inch barrel. You can see that there's the entrance wound right there. At about a 1/2 inch in, you can see that we're already getting expansion. There's already a permanent cavity there, and that cavity really runs up until about the 5 inch mark, where it then settles down to a pretty non-dramatic channel, and then it ends up to at about 11.25 inches in penetration. You can see that there are 2 fragments there, and I believe that there's other fragments along the wound path as well, but this would be a pretty nasty little entrance wound there. Here is the shot taken out of the Ruger 1022, the largest diameter being 0.376 inches, the average being 3.3 inches wide. So we did get quite a bit of expansion, as you can see, a lot of mushrooming, and we also got 4 little fragments from the round itself, and that came out to 27.8 grains on average. So I'm not sure if I'm missing a piece. I searched the block pretty diligently, and that's all I came up with. So 27.8 grains of lead was what was left over in the shot. Alright guys, so what's my final take on this ammunition? Well, I think that Aguila really has produced a lot of hype around this ammunition. I think that you're going to be really hard-pressed to see the factory stated numbers of 1,700 feet per second. I think that their claim of this being the most powerful round, the fastest .22 long rifle, is probably potentially true, but at the same point in time, I think that it's a lot of hype as well. I think that my conditions that I fired this round out of is pretty ideal for velocity, and I didn't see those velocities. So I think that a lot of it is hype. As to the terminal ballistics, you know, we see 11.25 inches out of the rifle and just shy of 14 inches out of the pistol. I think that if I was going to be carrying this for self-defense, because I know some of you that are watching this video are thinking the same thing, I would probably choose either a 36 grain hollow point like a CCI Mini Mag, or I would go with something like a 40 grain solid if I was carrying this for self-defense, mainly because I want to have penetration. With the 22, where you're lacking in power, I think penetration is really key. And a little heavier bullet is going to have more likelihood to achieve the deeper penetrations. And so anyway, that's kind of my take. You know, I think that it's a great little plink round. I think that for the most part, if you're looking at using this as a hunting load, expansion and permanent cavity that's occurring at the half-inch mark, I think is really ideal for little critters. I would not, in my opinion, for my rifles, I would not be using this over 75 yards for hunting, just because the accuracy was kind of poor, to be honest. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions or comments about this review, or any reviews that you'd like to see in the future, go ahead and leave them down below in the comment section. And if you guys like what you see, don't forget to take a moment and sign into YouTube and hit that like button. It really does help the video out, and it does help our channel grow, and I really appreciate it. And as always, guys, thanks very, very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. See ya. Okay, we're going to do a 300-yard ballistics test, 36 grain mini mag CCI. We're shooting into the clear ballistics FBI block. It's a 16-inch block, 6x6. Here we go. Just left.